Okay, please open your ELA notebooks to the grammar section, next blank page. Okay, we are starting a new unit today, and our new unit is going to be the different parts of speech, which you should be somewhat familiar with. Today specifically for grammar lesson number 8, we are going to look at nouns. So our I can statement is I can identify nouns in a sentence. All right, so what is a noun? Let's do a little star here. A noun is a person, place, thing, or an idea. Underline noun. Okay, we're going to create 4 columns here that give some examples of people, places, things, and ideas. So on the top of the, at the top left, let's write person, underline it, go over a little bit, write places, next write things, and lastly write ideas. Okay, examples of persons could be things like parents. Specifically, a proper noun would be Scott, the name of a person. It could be a teacher. That would be a common noun. And Mrs. Martin's. That would be a proper noun. Okay. Places would be things like the White House, which again is a proper noun. States, be a common noun. Okay. We might have Illinois, that would be a proper noun. Okay, but all of these are places. So persons, places. Some examples of things would be rocket, desks, ocean, hammer. Okay. These are all tangible, which means we can touch them. So a rocket, a desk, the ocean, hammers. And then lastly, we have ideas. And I think ideas are a little bit harder for us to think of as nouns because they are, an idea comes from your mind, so it's not something you can physically touch like you can these things. So one example of a noun would be danger. It's not something you touch, but you get all the ideas and clues about danger, and danger itself, that idea we consider to be a noun. Another one would be freedom, kindness, love. Okay, all of these are ideas. All right. Another thing that I want to point out with nouns is that you can have a one-word noun, you can have a hyphenated word, you can have a 2-word noun. So we're going to talk about what a compound noun is. So another star here. Let's write down a compound noun. A compound noun is a single noun made up of 2 or more words used together. A compound noun is a single noun, like we've used above, made up of 2 or more words used together. Made up of 2 or more words used together. Okay, underline compound noun. Okay, so some examples of that, as I said, they could be written sometimes as one word. So we're going to make 3 columns this time. We're going to call the first column one word. Draw a line under it. In the center, we'll do a hyphenated word. So hyphenated word. Okay, and then the last column is going to be 2 words, just written out as 2 words. Okay, here's some examples of some compound nouns. For the one word, we could have something like daydream. A daydream is when you think about you are like just imagining something that's going on that's not really going on. You're not paying attention to what's happening in the moment that you're actually in. So, but we use 2 words to make that one idea, daydream. Another one would be like Iceland, which is actually a place. We're using the words ice and land, squishing them together and making one word. So it's a compound noun. Hyphenated words would be words like self-esteem. Okay. The color blue-green. I know you had that in your spelling list last year in 5th grade. So blue-green. Sister-in-law. Okay. So we have self-esteem, blue-green, sister-in-law. So multiple words making one idea, making one single noun, but using multiple words to do it and hyphens. Here is an example of one idea using 2 different words. A word like the family room. So family room. It's one place, one idea, but we use 2 words and they are separated, but they're together. You know, separated in terms of we have family space room, but it's still one idea. It's just a compound noun. Another idea would be even a name like Rita Rodriguez. Okay, 2 words, but they make up one person, so therefore it's still a compound noun. So people with their first and last names will be a compound noun. Okay, and let's do some examples now, okay? So we've learned about nouns. We've learned that we can identify compound nouns, so sometimes nouns are more than one word. And now we're going to identify some in a sentence. So let me do a couple examples for you. The first example is going to be Clara Barton was born in Massachusetts. Clara Barton was born in Massachusetts. Period. Okay, so if I have to identify the nouns within a sentence, I have to ask myself the different subparts of it. Subparts would be, is it a person, a place, a thing, or an idea? So do we see any people in this sentence? Yes, we do. We see Clara Barton. So we're going to circle Clara Barton, and I'm including her first and her last name because that is a compound noun, right? 2 words. And are there any other people in our sentence? No. Are there any places in our sentence? Clara Barton was born in, yes, Massachusetts. So we're going to circle that because that is also a noun in our sentence. Any other places? No. What about things? Clara was born in, no. And are there any ideas? No. So safely I can say that this sentence had 2 nouns, a person and a place. All right, let's try to circle all the nouns in the following sentence. She was educated in a She was educated in a rural school and grew up with a love of books. Okay, so let's check all the different kinds of nouns that we know. So are there any people? Okay, the answer is yes, there's a person. The person is she. We're not given a specific name. She, in this case, is actually used as a special type of noun called a pronoun. And we'll learn about those later. It's actually in our next lesson. But we're not going to identify she, in this case, as a noun. We're going to wait until we learn about pronouns. But there are no other people in this sentence. Are there any places in this sentence? She was educated in a rural school, and school in this case is a thing, okay, but it's not a place. Grew up with a love for books, so no, not really. The next. Okay, so what about things? She was educated in a royal school, I told you, was a thing. Okay, if it was a specific school or place, we could talk about that. This could be both, actually. And grew up with a love of books is definitely a thing. Okay. Are there any other things in this sentence? There are not. Okay. But then what about ideas? She was educated, that's a verb, in a role. That's explaining the school, so that's going to be an adjective. We'll learn about that later. And grew up, we're talking about another verb, and we're talking about an adverb, with a love of books. In this case, love is being used as an idea, a big idea. And it's just an idea. It's not something we can touch, but it is a noun. Sometimes love can be used as a verb, and it can be used in lots of different ways, but here it's used as a noun. Okay, let me give you, I'm going to give you 2 practice sentences, and in both of these practice sentences, I want you to circle all of the circle all of the nouns. So, practice, and your first practice, number 1, is going to be, during the Civil War, however, during the Civil War, comma, however, comma, she distributed medicine and other supplies. She distributed medicine and other supplies. Okay, circle the nouns in that sentence. Here's your next one. Later, she helped find soldiers who were missing in action. Later, she helped find soldiers who were missing in action. Okay, again, circle the nouns in that sentence. Okay, I'd like you to take your highlighter and let's go over a couple of the key points that we had in this lesson. Remember, as I said to some of you, if you don't have a highlighter, think of something else. Can you use your pen and maybe put a box around it? Can you underline it? What can you do if you don't have a highlighter? All right, but I prefer a highlighter or a light-colored marker. So for I can identify nouns in a sentence, we need to recognize that a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. I also want you to be able to recognize compound nouns, which is a single noun made up of 2 or more words together. Those are your big ideas. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.